Hello, Namaste everyone. Thanks for joining in today. My name is Kunal Agarwal and I'm going to do a presentation on hidden messages on banknotes. So before we dive in directly to the topic, I'll just take a few minutes to explain you the topic. So first of all, why on banknotes? Like why are we discussing banknotes? The reason is before the pre-internet age, banknotes had a very wider reach. Everyone had at least handled some at some point of their life some banknotes. So banknotes had a higher reach domestically as well as internationally because of forex transactions and intercountry transaction tourists. So usually people don't carry coins of lower values, they prefer banknotes which have higher value, right? So that is the reason banknotes are very important. Also, the size compared to a coin or a stamp, the size is big, there's a lot of room for creativity and the visual appeal is higher. So that is why we are looking at banknotes. And why the hidden messages? So it's a age long method that banknotes have been used for communicating ideas to the masses. It's like a pictorial representation, a business card to other countries, and sorry, to convey policies, to convey about your own nation to your own people. Banknotes have been used. But why hidden now? So the thing is, it might be like an anti-government thing, or it could be just a prank, like some hidden messages on banknotes. We will discuss them in detail further. But before we start, here's something about me. Um, is the presentation live? Please, can we get the presentation? Yeah. So my education has been in accountancy and finance. I'm currently working as a stock market trader in Mumbai, and like all the kids from the late 90s, my collection journey started with Pokemon Tazos. And then I started collecting stamps and then coins, and then finally I've matured and stuck to banknotes. I'm member of local collector groups like the Hobby Club THC, which is giving me this platform to present. So please subscribe to their channel, and OFB, other international groups like IBNS and ANA. Moving ahead. So let's directly start. So we will start with Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. So she is the longest living monarch who has reigned for the longest period of time, and she has been depicted on banknotes of 33 issuing authorities. So you can say 33 countries, and she has been depicted on hundreds and hundreds of banknotes. So it's very much possible that being the most featured person on a banknote, you get into some kind of controversy, or there is some hidden message on a banknote which features you. So let's just see some. Okay, the devil's hairdo. This is one of the very popular banknotes among the numismatic society and otherwise. So in 1950s, when the Queen was crowned, and Canada, which was a Commonwealth nation, thought to print a note with her portrait, and this was the new design. But as you see, this is I've taken a picture of the $100. All the notes, all the 8 notes of this series had this similar thing, same portrait. And if you see at her hairstyle, I've zoomed the pic on the right. You can see there looks a devil face. You can see a devil's face there, right? So now people were started questioning, like, she's a royalty and there's a devil there, and there was a lot of word going on, blame game happening. A British politician, in fact, wrote a letter to the then Canadian High Commission that these banknotes should be burnt. And then the blame game started, like, is the Canadian authorities at fault, or the engraver, or the printer? So it happened, but later they modified the design. And as you can see now in the portrait on the note, you can see there's not that devil face happening in the hair due to the curls, right? So this was replaced, all the denominations were replaced, and eventually everything calmed down. But later the original photograph surfaced. As you can see to the right, this is by Yusuf Karsh, the original, the official photographer then. So this is the portrait, and as you can see, the hairstyle was already looking slight devilish, as we say, right? It's just that because of the printing, it looks more prominent. Otherwise, it was already there. So it was neither the mistake of the designer, engraver, or the printer. It was the actual photograph. So the controversy went down here until some conspiracy theorists jumped in, and they made a link that the royal hairdresser, the one who made the queen's hair, is involved with something. So just to give you a brief example, that person who was the royal hairdresser was a homosexual, which was a severe crime at that time, severe offense. And he was in a relationship with someone who was the disciple of a devil worshipper. Maybe is that why there's a devil here? But this is just a conspiracy. Maybe you can read up on your own. So moving on to the next hidden message is this beautiful Seychelles note. So Seychelles is a beautiful African country, and you can see this beautiful note here, which has palm trees just behind the queen's portrait. And it doesn't take much to look what it reads like. As you can see on the right, I have zoomed it. Yes, it looks like that word, which usually shouldn't be attached with a royalty on a banknote, right? So it could be a mere coincidence, but thanks to my friend Jaime, we are sure that it is pretty much deliberate, because then we realized that another note, the 10 rupee note, which is on the right, if you see just below the turtle's leg, you can see the corals making the word scum there, SCUM, which is again a derogatory word, which means like a dirty person. So it's called the scum note. And again, like I said, an interesting find by my friend. On the left, you see a 100 rupee note, which, if you see just above the tortoise, the scrubs there, they spell the word hate out there. So again, the words like sex, scum, hate, they do mean something, and just it could it could be a dirty prank, or maybe someone is trying to communicate something out there. At this time, the Seychelles independence struggle was on peak, so people were thinking that maybe the local designer Wendy and Mary, who were assigned to design these notes, were involved. But later, when the proofs were examined, their design didn't have these words. So these designs, which went from Seychelles to the engraver out there, to BWC, Bradbury Wilkinson. So at that time, these words were inserted here. So who knows who did it, but it is deliberate for sure, that we can say now. And moving on, so the cunning Chinese. By cunning, I am not implying anything like to their military or diplomatic policies, neither the coronavirus, nothing. This is just, I'm talking about the old pre-World War II era. So in 1937, the Second Sino-Japanese War took place, and it ended up pretty much in a stalemate. But Japan was pretty much in control of the Chinese government. So Chinese government just acted like a puppet. So that's why it's called the Japanese puppet government. And then they instituted a bank there. In there, the FRBC, the Federal Reserve Bank of China, and CRBC, Central Reserve Bank of China, were their financial arms, which used to deal mainly with printing and circulating of banknotes. Now this was in Beijing, and they usually hired the local Chinese engravers and printers. Apart from that, Japan had also given them the liberty to use Chinese images and symbols on the note, just so there is a better cross-culture connection. I'm sorry. But what happened was, when you give these Chinese, the ones whom you have occupied, access to such amenities like your printing plates, etc. So they were allowed to do that discrete modifications on the last moment in the banknotes, and we will see some fun examples. So this is the vulgar wise man, and as you can see, this is a beautiful note, $1 from 1938. There's a big dragon up there, and to the right is the portrait of Confucius. He's a wise man. You might have come across his sayings a lot. And as you see, the portrait which I have magnified, you can see his finger. Like the right hand is perfect, but he has raised the middle finger of his left hand, and this was like very offensive. It is still offensive, but the Japanese took it to their heart, and this also helped the Chinese to raise their spirit. Like we mocked it in your own banknote, the occupied banknotes. We mocked you on that itself. So this note is like very well known as the vulgar wise man. but the Japanese didn't took it lightly. They found who did it, and they eventually executed that person. But the Chinese also didn't stop. So again, this is the revised design. As you can see now, the fingers are correct. This was issued later in 1941. So these are the federal banknotes. Chinese just started being more subtle with their designs. So they started using animal imagery, which meant something in their culture. So, it was more symbolic until this note, which was issued by the Central Reserve Bank of China. So the designers there did something else. So this 50-cent note from 1940 has the letters, alphabets CGWRS hidden on them. I've zoomed it. I think it's not that clear here, but still I've circled that part. So CGWRS stands for Central Government Will Return Soon. So, at times when there is a lot of media restrictions where you can't speak about freedom, independence, this small tactics is like the hope people are looking for. You instill hope in them by doing these small things. So these were the funny like Chinese examples. And okay, so we see a lot of designers playing around now. Every note has the most basic aspect of designing. It has to go through that step, and the designer there has a lot of room to play around with it. Obviously it goes through strict inspection, but sometimes they do get off with it. So let's see some designers who left a mark of their own deliberately on the banknotes. A very own uh, banknote from India. So this is a 100 rupee note from 1960s, and it has the initials PBC. You can see on the back. So there are many notes, Indian notes with that. Sri Rizwan Razak sir helped me with this information, and he'll be sharing more with you soon. So PBC stands for PB Chitnis, who was the head designer and engraver in the Nasik press. So he was a one sneaky designer who left his initials there. And surprisingly, he was also involved in designing an engraving of the Bhutanese and Bangladeshi notes of the 1970s. So who knows what we might find there? Just like we'll have to go through. Moving on. Okay, so he's my favorite. So the prankster designer Ujje Oxenar. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing the name wrong, but still my feelings for him are true. So this is his portrait on the left. We lost him in I think in 2017, but the notes he has designed, these are undoubtedly like one of the most beautiful series Europe has ever seen, or in fact any country. These are very vibrant in color. So he was just not restricted to designing. He also got involved in the printing process. He asked why the colors turned out dull. Let me know, involve me in that process as well, so that I can design accordingly and we could come up with a better banknote. So he dedicated himself a lot to this art, and he was a hell of a pranker. So this is just one example. This is a Netherlands 100 Gulden note from 1972. You can see his hair there, where he has, like sneakily put in his fingerprint, which is his middle finger. So you can say how, you can see how like a funky prankster he is. And he did the same thing with the 10 golden note as well, and a few other notes. He did like he somewhere he used to hide his name and something. So now this is the last note he designed, and again a beautiful looking 250 golden note, which has a beautiful lighthouse there. And this was his biggest prank project according to me. So you see a tower there, and on the top of the tower, there he has hidden three names. One of his secret friend, one of his girlfriend called Ria, and one his granddaughter called Hannah. Also to the right, I have zoomed in and put an arrow. If you can see, there's a blurry rabbit there. So it's in the watermark. He has, add her girlfriend's pet there. And he thought it would be funny if people are, walking around with her girlfriend's pet in her pocket. So just taking out the rabbit for a walk. Seriously, like I said, crazy guy, but legend. Beautiful notes and beautiful pranks, which, people couldn't find out. In the end, he had to reveal it. This is speculation. So this is the printer of the designer of Swiss note Manuela So she designed all the six notes in the series, and all of them have hands on it doing different things. But the 10 Swiss franc note caught the media attention. The reason being the hands looked very similar to that of the designers. And on close inspection, even you can see that it does look very similar, and the rest of the notes are different. And they even asked her, so she said it's a secret. She didn't even deny it, that it could be that it isn't her hand, so it could be her hand. This is just a speculation, but if you see, I have zoomed in the picture, it does look that they are her hands, like a woman's hand with long fingers. Some other quick mentions I would like to make here. So this is on the left, a German 10,000 mark notes from the 1920. So after Germany lost the war in 1919, they signed the Treaty of Versailles. In that treaty, they had to pay huge amount of reparations to other European nations, especially France. Big, so they had also taken their coal mines and everything. So the revenue generating areas of Germany had been seized. So Germany did only one simple thing. They started printing more money just to make the payments. And that eventually led to hyperinflation. So earlier, when 1 mark was worth something, now even a note of 1 mark or a coin of 1 mark wasn't worth anything. They had to, eventually print a 10,000 mark note in 1922. On that, they featured a famous painter's portrait of a young man, but some unknown engraver there. He sneakily hid like a caped Dracula's photo who is trying just about to suck the blood out of this young man. I have tried to make a rough sketch, and I've tilted the image there. You can see like a hooded vampire trying to suck, which resembles France here. So again, when the German authorities were notified about it, in fact, they didn't stop it. They issued even more of these notes. So yeah, this was one of the messages where banknotes where the messages were hidden so subtly, but in fact everybody came to know it. And then there's this beautiful note from Myanmar. So Myanmar, which is earlier known as Burma, was in a civil war till a few years back. It started since their independence, so it's like the longest civil war to ever happen. And in that, their war hero, the independence hero, freedom fighter, is General Aung San, who is featured on this banknote here, wearing the military cap. And but he was unfortunately assassinated by his political rivals. And at that time, her daughter was 2 years of age, Aung San Suu Kyi. You might have been, knowing her, Suu Kyi. She was a Nobel laureate. So she left the country, and then again in 1980 she came back, and she started. She saw that country was going into a military regime sort of thing. So she took up some protest there. She was very much influenced by Gandhi, Martin Luther. So she started, doing those non-violent protests there. But the military regime didn't took it nicely. They put her under house arrest, which was like almost for 20 years. So what happened was, just to commemorate their hero, they thought that we should honor him, and they put his picture on the one kyat note, General Aung San. So he was like the hero for everyone, independence hero. But some smart engraver in there, the watermark was also supposed to be of General Aung San, but the smart engraver inside, he softened all the features to make it look like Aung San Suu Kyi, her daughter, Suki. So what happened was, this note was printed and went out in circulation. And this was a time where even if you print a picture or distribute flyers with Suki's picture, you will face severe consequences, because she was like totally banned and everything. So this note went out in circulation, and it took months and months for the government to withdraw it back, because it was like you just had to hold your currency to the light and you see your leader. It was like a symbol of hope for them. So this is one of the very tactical and smart way of hiding a message, I feel. And then there's this Orienburg concentration camp 50 Fennig note guide. So what happened was, in this camp they put in a designer. He was a graphic designer by name Lippert. So he was also assigned the role of designing the prison money. The reason was because it was anyway not going to circulate outside of the prison. So they say, okay, it's okay, you design it and then we will circulate within the prison. Obviously, there was some sort of inspection involved there, but it was not that strict. So what happened was he designed this note, and as you can see, just above Oranienburg, which is written, you can see concentration layer written. So it was actually concentration lager, which meant concentration camp. So he wrote that note first. Later, he sneakily changed the G to a Y, which means concentration layer, and it translates to concentration killing. So earlier it was concentration camp, and now it is concentration killing. So this is how these guys, you should sneakily put in some messages or spread propaganda or just give hope to other people. And now, since we are low on time, just fun, quick conspiracies for you. The Australian virus. So I'm pretty sure every one of you by now must have seen the picture of coronavirus surfacing out there. And now some conspiracy theorists came up with this idea that Australia had predicted it or had warned us about it. And you can see I have zoomed the image that they have put the image of the viruses out there. And in fact, they went further ahead. And as you can see on the right, they said that man on the bottom, he's Bill Gates, who is funding the vaccine, and everything is linked. So again, this is all crap. It's a security feature, and that's a different person. But still, this kind of conspiracy was going around out there. And the famous age-old Illuminati theory, the secret society, can see on right the 20 GPP GPP with the different secret geometry. You can see Star of David and everything. And then again in the middle, that Illuminati eye, the eye. And then on left, you can see a US $1 bill, which I have enlarged. And enlarged again, as you can see, there's a hidden owl there. Just to the left of the denomination part, you can see there's a hidden owl. So they mean that we are being watched. Someone is watching us. This is the symbol of that. So this is how like conspiracies are surfacing. But again, they don't make any sense. I'll probably make a video of debunking these conspiracies as well. I just thought I should cover them. And again, this unfortunate incident, very unfortunate incident, and people have made a conspiracy out of that as well. So they feel that the dollar bills already had a prophecy regarding 9/11. So if you see the $5 bill, it shows two towers standing. You can see the image on the left, and just compare it. And then the $10 bill, it crashed, like the plane crashed, and there was a blast there. And then again, if you see on the bottom left, the $20 bill, so the blast has become bigger and the buildings have started to collapse. And then on the $50 bill, it has collapsed and there is ash everywhere. So this was it. So before taking questions, I would like to thank everyone, all my friends who helped me out, Dharmesh bhai, Anish uncle for motivating me here by for the technical support, and all the friends who have contributed, and everyone who is watching. Please like, share, subscribe to this channel. And if you want to get in touch with me, my Instagram handle and email ID is mentioned here. We can take questions now. Thanks, Sergi. Just so you know, these were just small examples. There are a lot of banknotes out there. I was just giving you some hints because this is a short 20-minute presentation. Yeah, indeed, they had a lot of fun, but not the banknote designer. I think it was the engraver, because banknote designer didn't did it for sure. We have the proofs which show that it wasn't in the earlier designs made by them. Please inform all the notes with the engraver's initial on Indian notes. There are 10 to 12 notes, but that information was collected by my friend Sri Rizwan Razak sir, and I can share it with his permission. Any other questions? And in case we don't have any further questions, I would like to say that there are many other such notes out there. I have shared my contact details. You can communicate it to me, and even I also have many such notes to share, which I'll be maybe doing in my following follow-up presentations. For example, the German note guides, which I shared at the last. So German note guides have ton of such hidden messages and communications in them. Almost every other node guild had such secret message in them. You can say that. How long did it take for you to? So honestly, most of these I knew throughout my collection journey. Like, as I was graduating as a collector, I came to know one or two, and I just compiled them a week ago, and just made this presentation yesterday night. And thank you. Glad you liked it. And thank you all friends who have been watching from all the different countries here. Think there are no more questions. I think Joseph is saying I'm just finding out how to submit questions. Joseph, you just where you type the chat box, you can type your questions there itself. Think we can wait for a minute if someone has a question because I can see people typing there. Okay. Thank you, Ajay ji. Glad you liked it. Many more presentations to come soon, and please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it. I think there are no more questions for now. In case you have, I have shared my contact details. Please get in touch, and thank you. Thank you.